Hey guys, Corbin from Circuit 2020. So I get a lot of questions on the channel about what tools do I use to put AR-15s together or to work on AR-15s, and I'm here to tell you. So we're gonna do a video on it real quick. I've had a bunch of people reach out and ask. I've had some people in my, that I know personally, they know I do a lot of this, so they're like, what tools do you use and what is really necessary? The old adage is buy once, cry once. I will say that it's somewhat true with AR-15 tools. You know that I like budget parts and, some budget optics, and I like keeping the channel budget, and I'm going to show you some budget ways that work just fine, but I'm also going to show you the advantages to buying a little bit better tooling as well. So the number one tools that you need if you want to work on your AR, the first thing you need, in my opinion, is a vice block. Now, you can use what is your basic Wish, eBay, Amazon, other places have them too, your basic AR-15 vice block set. And I would recommend not getting the one that comes with the armor's wrench, because normally that's like a stamped steel armor's wrench and it's really crappy. So I wouldn't recommend getting that, but you got a lower vice block, which is just, a faux magazine, a fake magazine. And then you have an upper vice block that you just split around the upper, put it in the vice. You can wrench on it, tighten your barrel, loosen your barrel, whatever you got to do. You got those two things. And honestly, I've built plenty. I don't want to number my rifle builds anymore because it's getting up there, but plenty of rifles with these two. What I recently upgraded to, and we have the BB gun here, is this Real Avid set. Now let me tell you what's cool about this Real Avid lower vice block. It has this bottom piece here will actually loosen the lower. So once you get it to the point where it's loose enough, that should be it, there we go, it will just pop out. This is a beautiful vice block. What it allows you to do, other lowers, especially other caliber lowers, see, like it fit in that somewhat loosely and it won't really go into this without being tight. So watch how much looser you can make this. That should be enough to where now it just slides in and out. And you can make it so that basically any lower you get, Cerakoted, not Cerakoted, even 9mm lowers, it's called the Smart Fit AR-15 vice block from Real Avid. And I'm telling you, I think you can get this thing for around 30 bucks, and it is way better than the cheap one. Now, you can spend 10, 11 bucks and get that set that I just showed you, or you can spend 30. See, this BB gun's got a really big mag well, much bigger than a normal AR. It's still to spec because this works, but it's a little bit bigger. Now, here, I'll show you quick the biggest difference, and I hope you can see. Let me see if you guys, yeah, you can see the vice. Okay, so let me put this vice block in real quick. And I'll just set this lower. Now, this doesn't have a magazine catch, but even without the magazine catch, you still have quite a bit of play. It doesn't become a real big deal unless you're pounding, pins in or doing something that requires precision. The one reason I really like this is I have it set up so I can laser bore sight off of my vice block. Having it this sturdy, I can set it up and do all my adjustments and never have to worry about the rifle moving. Very nice. As far as the upper, there are some upgraded upper receiver vice blocks out there. I haven't noticed a real need to get one yet, but I probably will. To go along with the vice block, you need to have a vice. Now, if you don't have anywhere to put a table vice, I have a solution for you. You can go to Harbor Freight or any hardware store and pick up these drill bench vices. Now, this is covered in metal shavings from something that we were doing today. You can pick up these and they'll work just fine for any of those vice blocks. And it's pretty heavy, and I put duct tape on the bottom so when it's clean, I can go and set that down, and the nice part is it's taped so you can continue to remove it, put it back on, put new back on, and I will take and put that tape down so I can set it on a wooden table or anything at all, and it won't mess up the surface, and it has enough weight and enough sturdiness that it allows you to work on the firearm without it moving around and really without having any actual workshop. So the next thing is going to be a set of punches. Now, this is what I started with. Guys, what I started with here was a set of transfer punches, because after going to a few stores, the only place that had any like 16th punch was Harbor Freight. Transfer punches. They have the sharp end, it's for center punching. And I'll be honest with you, not a real good thing at all to do. Right after that, the next day, I went to another hardware store locally, and I picked up a set of, just regular punches. Let me caution you on going out and buying punches just anywhere. There's a big difference. I want to show those later. Well, there's a big difference between regular punches and hardened or stainless, real heavy chrome tool steel punches. These punches here, they break. Like your 16th inch punch, probably going to break within a few jobs. That's just how it goes. I went out and I ended up buying 3-4 sets of these 16th punches until I found one, until I basically broke down and went out and bought a really good set. Now, punches are punches, and if you're only going to do a few jobs, you can go out and buy a cheap set and you'll be okay. But in my opinion, go out and get yourself a good set of punches. What I mean by that, I just got these in from a tool company, and these are hardened. They have hardened tips. So it's the normal soft back, but hardened tips, and these are roll pin punches. 90% of your jobs on an AR that you require a punch for are roll pins. It's either that or the trigger pins, which you can use a roll pin punch for, because you don't have to kill them in there or kill them out, so you're not going to screw up the punch. I got a good set of hardened roll pin punches. You only really need 3 sizes, but I got the 9-piece set. You're going to spend 20, 30, 40 bucks on a decent set of roll pin punches, but it's worth it, because then you don't have to keep buying. Oh, something else I want to tell you, that Real Avid vice block comes with an upper lock back, so you can lock the upper back while you're working on it. Pretty cool. Cool for the YouTube people who scream safety out there. I'll probably use that. The next thing I want to tell you to get, go out, tackle box, doesn't matter, get a divider. Because if you're going to be working on your rifle and have it torn apart for even a second, getting a divider, I keep all my different parts, all the parts go in one. I have some parts in that one, but I'm getting ready to transfer everything over. I got 3 of these, so I'll basically have a lower parts bin, an upper parts bin, a miscellaneous parts bin. Parts bins are huge. The other thing that you need to go out and get, my buffer spring's sticking to it, everything's sticking to it. Oh my goodness, it's magnetic. We got stuff everywhere now. Woo. Okay. Magnetic trays. 90% of now that's just a bunch of bolts, a bunch of little screws and stuff. I was working on some sights, but 90% of your AR lower parts are going to stick to a tray. So having a tray, a magnetic tray, either a small one or a big one like I have, you can pick up for next to nothing. The detents in an AR-15 are so small. This, I don't want to drop it soon, but that right there is a takedown pin detent. There are 6-7 parts in an AR that are that small. Numerous springs, plungers, different things. If you tear an entire lower together or apart, or you're going to put an entire lower together, get all your parts out, put them in a magnetic bin, take your time, they're not going anywhere. Every part, as long as you're using normal mil-spec parts, what I know, all the springs, the triggers, the pins, the takedown pin, everything, safety detent spring, buffer plate, every single part of a lower that's small will stick in a magnetic bolt. Get yourself a magnetic bolt. The next thing you need to get is a hammer. And I use multiple hammers. So I have this jeweler's hammer with a brass and a plastic tip on it. Pretty cool. Just normal cheap Harbor Freight hammer, works fine. I have a rubber hammer, rubber mallet with interchangeable ends. It also has a steel end that I can put on it if I really need to give something to mustard. And the other thing, I don't know where I set it, is I also use a small, and I'm not going to be able to find it now that I didn't grab it beforehand, a very small ball peen hammer, you know, with a normal, it's a ball peen end, but with a normal head on it, just a small one. Just because sometimes, you know, getting in different roll pins and stuff, using the plastic or the brass isn't as aggressive. You need, you know, the impact force of metal. So using a small ball peen with a little bit of weight behind it can help with some of those, you know, pain in the butt pins like your bolt catch roll pin and your trigger guard roll pin. To get those pounded in the whole way makes it pretty easy. So we went over the punches, the vise blocks, the roll pin punches, the hammers. The next thing is having specific tools for specific jobs. I've put in 100 front takedown pins by simply taking a big punch, or I specifically like to use this hardened steel roll pin starter punch. Having roll pin starter punches are awesome, and I'm going to show you more of that in a second. I do the front takedown pins by sticking that in, pinching the D10 in with my finger, pulling that in, button up the takedown pin, pushing it through, hoping to God it doesn't fly somewhere. That's great, but there are better ways to do it. I feel like I should be sponsored. I went out and bought all this stuff retail today. Real Avid, $10 at the local FFL. They have master grade build tools, AR-15 pivot pin tool. Basically what you do is you lock this mechanism into the front of the lower, in up here, and you use the plunger and the other thing here to go ahead and insert your spring, your D10, and then you follow with your pin. You can't mess it up with this tool. Going along with the specialty tools, here's where I have some good and bad news. First time I did a bolt catch, I screwed it up. It's not an easy thing to do. 094 wire or the right size Allen wrench can help keep things aligned while you're tapping that roll pin in. But even so, it can still go awry if it's your first time. What can help out a lot, and I was doing it with basic punches, and I did it with a transfer punch to try to finish it, and I split the pin, and it was a mess. It was a mess. It sucked. That's the reason we painted the AR in a video, because I screwed up the lower. So we all learned that stuff. You know, that was the first time I'd ever done a bolt catch of my own. Most of the lowers that I've ever had were complete, or they were complete guns that I've torn apart and changed and just never messed with the bolt catch. First time I ever did one, I screwed it up big time. So get yourself a set of punches. Whoops, we're missing the thing. Yes, get yourself a set of punches specifically designed to do that. For $11, you can get the Real Avid Bolt Catch Punch Set. What it comes with is, I'm not going to take it out of the package yet, is a roll pin starter punch. I have more of those, but this is cut in half, and it's also, this one was rubber dipped so you wouldn't screw up your lower, which was nice. This one here was your finishing. It was the roll pin punch with the actually sits into the end of the roll pin and helps you finish that job. That was great, except for it was crappy, not hardened, and broke. So Real Avid, you can tell by the weight, makes a nice tool steel punch with the starter and the finishing roll punch, a roll pin punch set. Get yourself, I bought these on Amazon. I can't remember the company. I wouldn't recommend it because this thing's junk. This thing's held up good, no problems with this. It has a little bend to it and a couple nicks, but it works. I feel like you can do a little bit better. The other thing you can do if you don't want to buy that, get yourself a set of hardened steel roll pin punch starters. These work okay. They're just not long enough to do that job, in my opinion. But you can use, you know, any other roll pin punch. So I have a few backups. I have these roll pin punches. I have those starters. I have those. you get tools become addicting to a lot of guys. A lot of guys have problems with just regular tools around the house. If they're mechanics, they love tools. You'll get into the same deal if you start building or working on your own AR, where you love having the right tools because it makes it that much more fun and that much less frustrating. So we got the dividers, we got the vice blocks, we got the generic tools. Allen wrenches, I'm guilty of this myself. I use a lot of Allens. You don't run into a lot of Allen jobs. The main thing that you do is almost every single pistol grip bolt is Allen. I use a long L. Getting a set of good 1/4-inch socket Allens can be a lifesaver in either standard or metric, or getting a big thing of T-handles. I would say that and the most important thing of all is a good armor's wrench. Now, I bought this one from AIM Sports. I was a huge fan of AIM Sports. I have some of their stuff for my Remington TAC 14. I got some other AIM Sports stuff laying around. I feel like they do great. All they do, they don't even have their name on here. All this is just a normal China AR-15. It's a cast one. It's, you know, it's pretty heavy, but this is just a normal Chinese-made AR-15 armor's wrench. There are better ones out there. Real Avid makes a really nice one, but it's really nice price. So this will work. This will do everything you need it to do. The main things that I use this for: compensator, barrel nut, and the castle nut for the buffer tube. That's pretty much all I ever need to use mine for. But it is nice to have a good, thick, sturdy one, because trust me guys, the first time you take a barrel nut off of one that you didn't build, one that came from the factory, every factory gun that I've taken a barrel off of, it's a bugger. So having a good armor's wrench that's thick and feels decent in the hand, don't get one of those cheap stamp steel ones. They're junk. Don't buy it. Get a good armor's wrench. A good armor's wrench is going to cost you 30 bucks. You could spend more, that's up to you, but I'm telling you, that's all you need. When it comes to that, the bins are super important. But now for a couple things that it's nice to have if you really want to upgrade what you have. The first thing I would say is a gunsmithing set of files. Now, when I really got into the building heavy and took some classes and learned a lot, one thing that separates, you know, some factory built or backyard built, and I don't have a problem with that. If you build your own gun and don't have all the right tools, that's okay. It's your gun. You do what you want. But one thing I learned from those guys online was the difference between a nice gun, backyard built gun, nice gun, and a perfect gun is precision. And a lot of times with lowers and fitment and stuff like that, a little bit of filing, I've had to already file a little bit of the clover where the gas tube goes in to make it fit perfectly because it wanted to sit a little cockeyed. A lot of little things can be done with a set of gunsmithing files that will make the rifle or whatever you're working on just absolutely do so much better. There's factory guns that come that probably should have had some file work done to them as well. And when you have Cerakoting like I do, you don't really have to worry about filing anything because you can just Cerakote it. So that's nice too. You know, and then really that is the bulk of what I use. You know, you're going to want to have a couple good sets of pliers. I like to have a jewelry set of pliers because it's got a non-marring tip on it. So I have to grab anything on the exterior of the gun, or if I bump anything, I don't have to worry about screwing up the finish with that. Also a set of needle nose, regular needle nose, a set of jaw clips, and a regular set of pliers is great too. But the big things, guys, armor's wrench, vice block, whether it's the cheap one or the expensive one, a good set of punches, and some bins. And you guys can do about whatever you want, because I built a few rifles just by doing that. The little guy's calling. I think it's time for me to go play. So it's Corbin from Circa 2020. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe, like, put anything you want down in the comments, and we'll see you soon.